in. Welcome everybody joining us on ACIM and Gather. We're so glad you are tuning in. Welcome everyone who is watching the live stream. We live stream the Sunday Gathering now on the CMC website. So anytime you can't make it to San Francisco, maybe you don't live anywhere around here, you can watch the Sunday Gathering on the CMC website. No login, no password, no nothing. Just go to the website and just click on it, and at 11 o'clock it starts, hopefully. Definitely. Yeah. We're cool. Okay, so I also want to welcome now anybody who might be watching the YouTube video. Watch all our YouTube videos. We got hundreds of them up there. That's great. So this is Labor Day weekend, and one of the things that we've done for many years on Labor Day is that we have a special service. We have a community voices service, and we have a couple of those a year, and that is a service when we ask different people from our community to come up and give short little talks and focused on a theme, which of course is Labor Day. And I called it Labor, Vocation, and A Course in Miracles. So we're really happy to have 6 of our members up here sharing with us. So let's just start that off now, and we'll do them in alphabetical order. I hope I got the order correct. So the first person I want to call up here is right here, Al Gilbert.
Yay.
Oh, we can do better than that. Let's give him some applause. Al Gilbert.
Thank you, Reverend Tony.
You're welcome.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, good night, wherever you are in the world. So happy Labor Day, everybody.
Let me lift this up just
A little bit more. A little bit closer.
Get a little closer to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you want to?
Yeah.
Well, you have to.
Nothing's right on it, but yeah.
Right. Okay. Rock star close.
No.
So once again, happy Labor Day, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day. So I thought I would start with a little history about Labor Day. I had to look it up myself. Labor Day, it started as a recognition of Workers' Rights Day in New York City back in 1882. It was a local holiday. It didn't become a federal holiday until 1894, after a disastrous strike by the Pullman rail workers that was broken up by federal troops, basically. So I think the federal government felt kind of bad and created this national holiday by congressional agreement. It was set as the first Monday in September, and there were a couple of reasons for that. One was to break up the fact that there were no holidays between July the 4th and Thanksgiving. Unlike Europe, we don't celebrate a lot of holidays. Secondly, I think it was congressional excuse to extend their August summer break by an extra week or two. So here we have it. So the language of labor, as I think, is not particularly happy. It's at best stoic. Labor. If you want to be successful, you got to work hard. You don't have to work easy. You got to work hard. So I try not to buy into that. But no one talks about working happy, and instead of focusing, so for by example, look at the language we use. Even the good old federal government, they talk about the unemployment rate, right? They don't talk about the employment rate. It's the unemployment rate. So now it's, fortunately it's around, 3.5%, maybe 4, whatever.
It's hovering around 4.
It's hovering around 4. So everyone thinks it's a big deal that the unemployment rate is 4%. I think it's happy news that the employment rate is 96%. Why don't we start using that kind of language, but not in this administration. Okay. The other thing about labor, by example, is women. God bless them. If they weren't here, we wouldn't be here. But when women give birth, they don't give birth, they go into labor. Labor. Now, mind you, based on cinematic evidence, I wouldn't want to do it myself. But, we look upon it as kind of hard work. Labor. God bless them. God bless my mom. The other thing that comes to me about labor is relationships. So in my work life, I've been in sales most of my work life, and I've come to feel that a relationship is a labor of love, both in work and in personal relationships. And I've come to feel that a work relationship is simply a personal relationship on another level. So when I deal with customers, they're just people. They're not adversaries or people I'm trying to overcome to sell something. They're just people. people like you and me. And the other little cliche I've come up with is that I treat my customers as friends and I treat my friends as customers. Quick example where that came from. I have a very, very good friend, my best man in my wedding, Larry Wilson. I've known him since college. He was notoriously late. Probably he still is, actually. And once I was to meet him in New York for drinks and dinner. And he said, I'll be there at 5:30. I said, fine, at the hotel. So 5:30 became 5:45, 5:45 became 6, 6 became 6:15, 6:30. Larry walks in. Hey, how's it going? I said, it's going like terrible. I've been waiting here over an hour. I said, let me ask you this. If I were, because he was in sales too, I said, Larry, and if I was a customer and you knew you'd be an hour late, what would you do? He said, oh, I'd call the customer and say I was going to be late. Well, why would you treat me any differently? Because I'm a friend, not a customer. So that's where I learned the lesson. I always treat my customers as friends, and I treat my friends as customers. The other thing is about relationships, the personal relationships. I had the good fortune, my wife Carol and I were married by Reverend Tony 22 long years ago.
Wow.
It's been a
I
great...
marry him good.
You marry him good.
Yeah.
You marry him to stay.
Yeah.
I've learned that the first 22 years are the hardest. But after that, it's all
Great.
it's all a walk in the park. When I got married late. I was 45 years old. My first marriage, my wife's second, actually third. But people who were surprised that I did get married asked me shortly thereafter, or years after, so how do you like it? How was it like being married? I said, I love it. And if you're lucky, being married is the best second job you'll ever have. Because it is work. I mean, the romance burns off and everything else becomes work, but it becomes good work. So, balancing your personal relationship and your work relationship are basically the same things. Physical labor, it's easy when I was 20, it's hard not 20. So I have to choose how I labor physically differently. For example, I've learned to ask for help. I'm 66, I'll tell you. But my mother, she aged, always refused to ask for help. So I've learned to teach myself to ask for help, even when I don't need it. So when I go to Pethoud to buy pet food in 50-pound bags, because we have a lot of pets, when the young man at the cashier says, can I help you out with that? I go, sure. So, I mean, I don't need it per se, but I just have to train myself to sort of get into that conversation. Okay. And so the connection to the Course in Miracles is this. So I see the Course as all about identity, the ego versus the Holy Spirit. And the connection to work is kind of summed up in the question. When you meet people at a party, they say, what do you do for a living? And usually you say, well, I'm a salesperson, or I'm a restaurant worker, or I'm a manager, or I'm this, that, and the other. But in reality, that's not what we do for a living, or that's not what I do for a living. So I've learned to separate the two, that I don't relate work to my ego of what I do for money. So when people say, well, what do you do for a living? I might say, well, for a living, I study the Course in Miracles. I enjoy fine wine and make love to my wife, not necessarily in that order. And for money, I'm a sales manager in the travel industry. So what you do for a living is not what you do for work. If you're lucky, like Reverend Tony, he doesn't work. He has a passion that he's fortunate enough to be compensated for. But if you do something you love, you're never working. So we're not also fortunate, but Labor Day does remind me, and hopefully you, that if you're going to labor, find a labor of love.
Thank you, Al.
Good job.
Very nice. Okay, so the next person that we're going to bring up here is our Reverend Steve. So, Reverend Steve.
It's Reverend Eddie.
Reverend Eddie. I had a little Eddie with me. And
I know that.
Eddie's kind of special, so I had to hand Eddie off. I was going to bring him up here, which would have been perfectly fine, because he loves to lick all over my neck, and it's quite interesting. So good morning, everybody. Happy Labor Day. I haven't been here on Labor Day in San Francisco, which I'm born and raised here, for over 12 years, because every Labor Day I am programming California Men's Gathering at not Saratoga Springs, at Camp Newman. And Camp Newman burned down 2 weeks after our retreat last year. And it was kind of painful to see that happen, because we're madly in love with this site in Santa Rosa Mountains. But we found another site this year, and instead of doing it on Labor Day, it's called the Community of the Commission above Auburn, and 4,000 feet, unbelievable 420 acres of forest, beautiful forest. So we could only get it the weekend before Labor Day, so we just had it last weekend. So here I am in complete peace, because I was able to do this incredible retreat for 100 men. And it was the most comfortable event ever, considering it's our first time in 420 acres, and we're expecting 150 people, and it's quite a stretch. But it was absolutely amazing. And I have all kinds of, we take up responsibilities too, like I had the intimacy cabin, the romper room, the pool party, all the storage, a lot of organization skills with a lot of other planners. So it was quite challenging, and I'm just happy to be all here with all of you for Labor Day for the first time in 12 years. So thank you all, and all my brothers and sisters, and all of us Californian, Course in Miracles people. COM or California, CMGs, it's kind of confusing. But here I am in complete peace. And you know what? My story about Labor Day is really simple, because I'm really blessed. I follow my passion and work. I built community one man at a time with many other organizations. So I do a lot of retreats. I do a lot of community building. I get to do that. I get to do what I love doing. I get to follow my passion in life. And I'm so blessed to be able to do that. Thank God. And I have all of you, and I get to be here, and I get to do all the study groups, which is pretty amazing. And there's a lot of us. I do the Monday, I do the Thursday LBGT group. I try and do Reverend Rudy's incredible Saturday, which is really amazing, and I don't always make that because it's a little stretch. But here I am at our beautiful Sunday service at this beautiful location, and the weather's pretty good here. But here we are, Labor Day, and I'm able to process Labor Day is very simple for me. That's why they call me Easy Steve, because I'm easy. It's that simple. People always ask me, what's the Course in Miracles? What's the Course in Miracles? It's real easy. It's me and you, and it's right now, in the moment. We don't practice all that old stuff that all the religions practice. We're really basic. It's about you and me and right now. And my big thing about the Course is we practice shifting our ego to our spirit, the ego, all the negative stuff, to the positive stuff, to our core, our beautiful spirit within us that we all have. We're all part of this miracle gift of God within us, and all of us have that. And God, I guess unless you do the study, you don't realize that it's already there. We have it already. We just need to practice it. And the more we practice it, the more solid it is, and the more that transformation, it becomes more automatic. And boom, we can shift all this ego stuff out there. Boy, is there a lot of it. We have a new president that's a little challenging. I'm not going to mention his name either, because I'm not going to bring up all the markers of all the ego. because it's all about ego. So I'm just able to shift the ego to the spirit a lot easier now, and it's almost automatic now for me. So I have less of it. So I'm gonna live longer. I'm gonna have less ego. I'm gonna be able to shift it. Sometimes, I'd say most of the time, it's automatic that I'm able to shift all that ego stuff, and I'm able to be in this amazing moment of God and love and transfer the whole process of love together. And that's it. It's just me. I'm just shifting the ego to the spirit easier, the negative to the positive, because we are all love. And thank you all.
Thank you, Reverend Steve. Okay, so the next person that I'll call up is somebody that we ordained a long time ago. And it's always great to have him here, and it's been great these last couple of years because he's been participating more, and really a blessing. Okay, so Reverend Brad Pethoud.
Yay.
Try that.
Thanks, Reverend Tony.
Yeah, get as close to it as you can.
All right. I'm retired, and about the only work in terms of labor that I do is to maintain the bathroom on the second floor of the Franciscan Friary where I live. I keep the bathroom clean, which after many men can be a challenge. Stocked with toilet paper and paper towels, and we have very old plumbing, which requires my plunging ability. So when Reverend Dusa Althea asked me to talk about about labor and how I integrate ACIM with the work I do, all I could think of was the second floor bathroom. And I guess it's a ministry. I contribute to the brothers' happiness by keeping the bathroom clean. So I'm very proud of that. By giving the subject further thought, as most of you know, I'm a solemnly professed Benedictine monk. And the work I do now is more the way I live. What monks do is they pray the Divine Office, which is the prayer of the Church. And the Divine Office contains psalms and daily prayers that you offer. But there's also personal prayer. So prayer is largely what I do now, and most of us don't probably think of prayer as work, but it's not a passive exercise. To pray implies action. Through prayer, we lost my train of thought. Okay. To pray is to engage the Holy Spirit in heartfelt dialogue. To pray is to listen to the Holy Spirit's voice and act on it. To pray is to seek at one-ment with God, for our minds are joined with God and with each other. Forgiveness is an essential part of prayer. The Course tells us forgiveness is the sole purpose of our incarnation, our sole reason really for being here. I try to practice forgiveness on a minute-to-minute basis. I need to do this because my grievances can interrupt my prayerfulness. I maintain 3 prayer lists, the Community Miracle Center prayer list, the St. John the Evangelist Church prayer list, and my own prayer list. On my own list are people I've known since childhood, right up to the present time. I think about and pray for each one of them. It takes me about a week to get through the entire list. As I do, I know I'm joined with each one. I ask forgiveness from each one. In the past, some family and friends have pissed me off. Some have really pissed me off. And I know I have pissed off other people. I mean, a fact of life is sooner or later you're going to piss somebody off. So I go through my prayer list, ask for forgiveness, and I know I'm being healed along with the person that I'm thinking of. All minds joined in the one mind of God. And so my work today is to pray, to ask for forgiveness. That's my job, and that's what I do, and that's what I feel called to do. So thank you.
That's how good that
Is
was.
that appreciated?
That's how good that was.
That's a confirmation.
You can't clap.
Never heard of I've never heard of it.
Mine was
Okay. Thank you, Reverend Brad. That was great. Okay, so our next speaker is our own Reverend Dusa Althea.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a little high. Oh, good. Thank you. Again, I welcome you all again to this
Yay.
wonderful space.
Yay.
It's a relief to get out of the kitchen. You can't imagine how it is in there. Anyway, what is the first thing? We do not know what is in our own best interest. I love that. We don't. At least we think we know, right? I know what I need to do. No, we need to always first ask for guidance. And if you ask for guidance, then you know you'll be on the right path. And if you don't, when things get horrible, don't blame God, blame yourself. Yeah, you have to.
okay.
Yeah, okay, you got it. I'm glad you got it, Steve.
Oh, God.
The next one in A Course in Miracles I love is giving and receiving is the same. And I think we don't always realize that. We're giving, we're giving, we're giving, we're giving, we're giving. No, we are receiving. It happens at the exact same time. As you give, you receive. It cannot be a one-way street. So everybody, when you're giving, don't think, oh, I'm giving. No, think I'm receiving. Because we love to receive. I mean, I love receiving. It makes you smile, it makes you happy. You know, if someone gives you a gift, you open it up and they're happy just to see you happy. So we are all happy with giving and receiving is the same. And then the other thing is, happy outcome to all things is sure. A happy outcome to all things is sure. And we know, no matter how we plan our day, and it may not go the way we want it to, but we do know that as long as we ask for guidance, that it will go the way we want it to. Even though we originally, our own plans are, oh, I think A goes here and B goes here and C goes here. And it doesn't happen that way. Because when Holy Spirit is guiding you, Holy Spirit knows what you really need. It knows when you need love. It knows when you need someone to smile at you. It knows when you need someone to touch you. And touching is really a wonderful thing. And as many of you know, I'm a body worker, so I get to touch people all of the time. And it's really a wonderful experience. And as I work with my clients, they tell me all of their problems, like I could do anything about it. So I say, pray. As I tell them, pray. But I do know, I also often say, a happy outcome is sure. Because I know that for sure, it will be a happy outcome. Like my last client yesterday, her son is not going to school, he's not working, he's not doing anything. He's 27 years old, and I think back, when I was 27, where was I? I was on my way to Afghanistan, you know, something like that. But here he's not doing anything, and he's bright, very smart young man, but somehow he's stuck someplace. And in the summertime, he had taken a course at City College about counseling. So he got the bright idea to get himself a counselor. So now she knows that there will be a shift, and eventually the happy outcome will be there for sure. So a happy outcome to all things is sure.
Okay. And our next speaker
Oh, yeah.
is our AV tech for today.
Okay.
So they have to get everything set up. So it's Reverend Lucas Sanchez.
It's a little bit higher. Okay, all right.
Don't believe the height.
Okay, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, Lucas.
And happy Labor Day, one day early. So, yes, I think that this is probably my third Labor Day of speaking. I'm not sure. And I am finally not the last one to speak. All right. Garrick is, because it's always in alphabetical order.
My last name.
My last name. So, I am not the last one. Yes, I'm not the last one. So, about work. Yeah, it's actually become a really like happy and joyous thing as far as my vocation goes, like the paid work. And that's been a recent thing. For the past 2 years, I've been a teacher, and it's been beautiful. And I realize that it's not going to stop there. Right now, I teach preschool age children, so 2.5 to 5 years old. And then also, there's a little bit of like teaching or guiding the parents as well, because I work in a cooperative. And it's beautiful to be there. And it's really exhausting work. And one thing that I was asking Spirit about what it is about how my perception has changed around work is the one thing that they said to me is that it's about relationship. In your paid work and when you are off the clock. It's about building relationship, and that's all it's about. And I'm fortunate in my job now that now more than ever that I get to build deeper relationships with the people that I work with the other teachers and with the parents and with the children throughout the school year. I get to know them pretty intimately, and especially in a cooperative setting. And that is a total blessing. And when the school year comes to a close, it's, yeah, a little bit of just longing of like, oh, you're going off to kindergarten. Oh, yeah, you're off to your next adventure. I'm going to miss you. And also to the parents as well that are also graduating to be the guider and advocate for their child's formal education. But there was something else that I wanted to talk about as far as work, is that I recently, I have a new friend that I met on Tinder, actually. You can meet friends on Tinder, yes, it happens. And They are maybe watching on YouTube right now, so hello, Rabbit, if you're watching. If you're not, that's okay. I'll be talking about you, but I warned you ahead of time. That they don't work, not officially. So they're on disability and they're unable to work in the traditional way. However, they are being compensated. They're still looking to, struggling financially, as maybe we all are, kind of, in most of us in San Francisco. But they, even though they don't work, and they're unable to, put in the hours, if you will, they still, in my eyes, they definitely contribute, because they are building relationships. And certainly with me, and I feel so blessed to know them. They have definitely put a perspective. I asked them about what they felt about, I was just the initial question is well, what does it feel like to not work? To work and then not work. And they're and they started talking about how they felt that their friends were in a trap. I'm sort of, not the exact quotation of what they said, but that they felt that a lot of people feel like they're doing work that doesn't really feed them emotionally and spiritually. And that's a sad thing. They're not able to contribute what they themselves as individuals really bring to the world. That they may do it outside of their work, their vocation, the thing that they get monetarily compensated for. And it's and that it's when you don't have that need of having to provide for just your life, just living, just basic needs, that when you have that met, that you're able to do the things that you really came here and really want to do. It's like that question that they ask, it's if you didn't have to worry about money, what would you do? And it's that's what's kind of guides you in the direction. But then it's also you can do your work at any job, really, and it's just bringing the gifts to that. So, that's it. Thank you very much for listening, and happy Labor Day.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Reverend Lucas. For those of you who don't know Reverend Lucas, and if you stay later, Reverend Lucas is a transgender person and likes to be addressed with the plural pronoun.
Well, singular they pronoun.
What's that?
Singular they.
A singular they?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was such a thing as a singular they.
Yes.
Well, it's just they. You use they, but it's for me, not multiple people.
Well, right. Okay, so it's they.
They is not always plural.
What's that?
They is not always plural.
Okay, I guess, I learn something every day here.
I'm just one person.
I know you're just one person. I know you're just one person. And I think I'm getting a little better with the they. I don't slip up quite as much as I used to. Okay, so we have one more speaker here today, and this is the first time this gentleman has come up here and spoken. So we're just really happy to have him here and happy to have him on the Sunday Gathering Committee and doing so much with all of our audio and getting the live stream working. And he comes and helps me out in the office, and he does all our book orders, and he helps me with tech and computer things. So let's give a nice round of applause for Garrick Wilhelm.
Hey. Every time. I'm going to use Eddie to improve my cute factor. Especially since I know I have friends that'll be at least watching the live stream later. So the Labor Day seems like the least course-related topic that we could come up with, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so labor, I was taught several things about labor. I was taught you work hard and you'll be successful. You know, I always I dreamt of having lots of money and doing lots of work and, you know, just making a really successful life. And then even in church, I was taught, well, what you do matters, right? That you've got to watch out what you do, or else you'll be sinning and you'll be punished, or you won't be in God's good graces. And like so many things in the world, that's a misperception. I've learned through that leading me to a great deal of insanity that really the greatest work we have is in what we are, in who we are, in it's in being. And so, but work is so related to the body, right, that you can't really have labor without the body. But the Course tells us that the one true function of the body is communication. And so really, is that our work? Is our work to communicate? Well, sometimes when you have to come up and get up in front of people, it seems like it's pretty laborious, right? It can be work. But like many other things the Course tells us, even that's a misperception. Communication is not something that we do. It's something that we are. Communication is part of our being of the mind of God. Yet in this separation, we perceive it as something different, something that we do. We are always communicating. We don't have to open our mouth to communicate. We don't even have to move to communicate. Communication is essentially the essence of relationship. So when we communicate inward to our oneness with God, with the sonship, we are building, that is our relationship to the whole. That communication, that connection is our relationship. And communication is a function of that relationship. As we look outward into the world, into this separation, communication is also a function of our relationship with that separation, our relationship with what we perceive in this world. So we're not just communicating our perception out into this world, we're also communicating who we are. Now, of course, it teaches us that who we are is love, right? As part of God, we are love. So we are always communicating love because it's who we are, right? So, but we know that the ego can sometimes get in the way. And it places these blocks to the presence of knowing that love is there. And this is primarily done through judgment. Ego wants us to look and judge things, and that leads us into grievance, and that leads us into a place where we have either guilt or fear or anger or hatred. And those are the blocks that ego puts up to the awareness of love's presence. We know that the awareness of love presence is our natural inheritance of peace. That we can have peace when we're aware of the presence of love in our lives. So, the ego's tool being a judgment to block the love's presence, love demands that we forgive these judgments. That we, in order to undo these blocks to love's presence, we use gratitude to return us to a place of love. One cannot have gratitude and grievance at the same time. It's impossible. So if grievance is the block, all we have to do to let go of that block is to show gratitude. In that process, we forgive that judgment and we're able to bring us back to a place of love. The beauty of our inheritance of peace is that love flows through us, communicating as a mechanism of the atonement. In this communication, we realize that our at-one-ment with the world is our mechanism to heal the world. By communicating love into the world, we are a process of healing. Not just to the part of the world that we can see or that we feel we can influence or that's within our reach. The world itself is healed when we remove those blocks to love's presence. So we live in a much more peaceful world because we have much more love. That we're communicating love to one another, that we're allowing ourselves to be who we truly are. Just being is what communication is. Just being is the work that we need this Labor Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give all our speakers a round of applause.